Japanese financial market can be more digitalized and bring more cutting-edge technologies into financial products and services. I want to deliver better financial products and services to the market in a cheaper, better way. That's my career aspiration. Binance, I believe that was the only place that could change the market entirely, like giving a meaningful impact to Japanese financial industry. The function of a crypto exchange is wider or larger than traditional finance. So that's why it's quite challenging, and also it's fun, a lot of fun actually.
You have just heard from Takeshi Chino, General Manager for Binance in Japan. Previously, Takeshi held senior roles as Managing Director and Head of Japan at Kraken, as well as in traditional finance. His ambition is to build a sustainable Web3 ecosystem in Japan. So let us dive right in.
Good morning, Chino-san. It's good to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nowara-san. Thank you for having me.
How does it feel to be on the other side of the microphone? Last week we had WebEx conference and you were on stage interviewing Richard. Now you're my guest, thankfully. Which side of the microphone do you prefer?
I like this one as well.
Your history in the markets has been with traditional exchanges, first of all, and then when some interim time at PwC, you spent 4 years at Kraken and then Binance. What made you go from traditional finance into the crypto space?
This is one of the common questions I have received. What I've been doing hasn't changed much since my first day at Tokyo Stock Exchange. I really wanted to do something for Japanese financial market. That's why I chose Stock Exchange as my first career place. And then I saw many things should have been better in terms of delivering financial products to investors. As some people pointed, which I really agreed from my heart, which is Japanese financial market can be more digitalized and bring more cutting-edge technologies into financial products and services. I left Tokyo Stock Exchange in 2016 and went to a consulting or accounting area. The reason why I wanted to expand my scope of my career from pure traditional finance to a wider industries, from manufacturing to cybersecurity or even national security. Finally, I arrived in a more digital finance sector. But as I said, my role hasn't changed much. I want to deliver better financial products and services to the market in a cheaper, better way. That's my career aspiration.
When you move from Kraken to Binance, there's always a moment where you think about your career and the choices and options that you have. I assume Binance wasn't the only option and you could pick from different opportunities. So why did you choose Binance?
Kraken was such a lovely place and I really enjoyed working there. But I really wanted to do something in a larger scale. Binance, I believe that was the only place that could change the market entirely, like giving a meaningful impact to Japanese financial industry. Binance is a quite young company. We only have a 7-year history, but we currently have more than 50% of market shares. And we continuously providing cutting-edge financial product to the market in a digital way. I thought that Binance would be able to provide more drastic changes to Japanese market. So that's the reason why I changed from Kraken to Binance.
What is your take on the Japanese crypto market overall? There's still 28 exchanges or so.
It's more than 30 exchanges existing now. Yeah.
And how many of these players are profitable?
Top 10 exchanges are relatively doing okay. I don't say they are great in financials. But the reason why too many exchanges exist in Japanese market, I think the people outside the industry are continuously attracted by the exchange businesses. Knowing that Japan has such a huge potential in intellectual properties and content business, If they do something around Web3 under the Japanese regulatory requirements, exchange is somehow like a must-have function. That's why people try to get an exchange business. But running an exchange business is quite different from providing tokens, setting up a project for Web3. Exchange is finance. People need to know the financial regulatory requirements and compliance, also liquidity and product differentiation. I don't think many people are familiar with such challenges before acquiring crypto exchange in this market.
If I can rephrase that, an exchange is part of an overall Web3 strategy that is not necessarily just focused on traditional crypto token trading, but ultimately goes into NFTs and all this manga IP that we're talking about. There's equally or maybe even greater opportunity in the future.
Compared with the traditional stock exchange, which I used to be a part of, the crypto exchange, at least in Japanese market, under supervision of the Japanese Financial Service Agency, is a kind of a combined operational functions from broker to custodian. When we see a traditional stock exchange, exchange is just the matching place where people match the buying order and the selling order. But crypto exchange, we do a kind of brokerage service for users. We do a custodian service where we keep users' asset in our cold wallet, and which is unusual for traditional stock exchange, right? We have JustDeck, which provides custodian services for the stock market. I think the function of a crypto exchange is wider or larger than traditional finance. So that's why it's quite challenging, and also it's fun, a lot of fun actually.
Now that you mentioned custody, recently Bitflyer bought the former FTX Japan with the explicit intent to make it a custody entity. Bank has JDAT. What is your strategy around custody?
Unfortunately, I haven't seen any actual moves around institutional business. Custody service is essential for attracting more institutional players, right? Japanese market is still quite slow in terms of converting traditional financial institutions into more Web3 players. In the US, many institutional players have entered crypto or Web3 market, and they are doing a lot of things. ETF is one of the examples. But Japan is still in a slower pace of acquiring an institutional business. But as you pointed, Bitflyer, one of our largest competitors in the market, recently acquired former FTX operation in Japan. And CEO Mr. Kano said he would be thinking about institutional business through the FTX custodian in the market. I think that's a good move, and we are preparing for that one. But still, not that many institutions have explicitly shown their interest in crypto business.
I will come back to the overall market later, but let's take a snapshot of Binance. You've just had your 1-year anniversary. Congratulations. Maybe a brief recap of how this year has evolved for you and the team.
We entered Japanese market through the acquisition of a small license exchange called Sakura Exchange Bitcoin. It was back to November 2022. Since then, we started the preparation to operationalize Binance in Japan under the Japanese regulatory requirements. We finally launched the service on August 1st last year. I think we did a great job in terms of providing wider product scope than many people expected. We started a business with 34 tokens. In Japan, getting approval for a new token takes a long time. Starting with 34 tokens, I think that's one of the surprises that we gave to the market. And we increased the number of supported tokens from 34 to 53 throughout the year. So we added 19 tokens through the year, which is one of our achievements. We also have been focusing on another differentiated product, which is a simple ARM. Many people call it staking business also. But the concept is if you lock your token for a period, you will receive reward. I can call it interest from the locked period. This service is particularly popular in Japanese market, given that Japanese interest rate for JPY is still quite slow. While BOJ has changed the policy and they raised the interest rate recently, but it's still quite low. The yield that we provide is quite good. So many people are attracted by the service. Thirdly, our mission here is to build trust with Japanese key stakeholders, including JFSA and other regulatory authorities. My team has been doing a great job in terms of maintaining and even improving the relationship with these authorities.
Now, you also came in maybe a good time because at some point the JVCA took some feedback on the difficulty of launching new tokens, and they've got this green list. How much has that improved the market overall and made it easier for you, but then maybe also your competition?
Let me step back a little to talk about JVCA and the relationship between JVCA and JFSA. JVCA is a self-regulatory organization, SRO. It's similar to a security association and Nishokyo. There's quite a similar institution in crypto industry. The reason why we need such an organization is that JFSA, they are not able to take care of quite detailed regulatory stuff, right? And normally what the broker or what the exchange required to do is quite operational thing, which are not reflected in JFSA's guideline. Of course, not in law or other regulations. For financial market, traditionally we have an SRO. Among players, we discuss and agree as to what kind of detailed regulatory requirements needed, which are also consistent with JFSA's guideline and other regulatory requirements, right? I see the benefit of having such an organization in the market. 100% I support that one. The JVCA started a while ago. One of their important roles is to provide a double check function for token listing process. While each exchanges are required to do their own due diligence for a new token, internal process like 3 lines of defense, and we need to get board approval, everything. But in order for the exchange to have further assurance, exchange are required to bring the application for a JVCA to get the JVCA's review on their due diligence process. So that's a concept basically. However, many people involved in the process of JVCA took longer than people thought. For new token, it tended to take more than 3 or 4 months easily. They didn't know how long it would take, which actually affected the business of exchanges a lot. And that's why I wanted to do something to improve the situation. So I ran for the campaign. Back to my days at Kraken, I became one vice chairman of JVCA, and with other directors of the association, we did some improvement over token reviewing process at JVCA, which resulted in faster reviewing process at JVCA. And for the tokens, those have been provided by one or more exchanges, provide a simplified reviewing process. It's called green list token process or cask process. And there is some difference between two systems, but the concept is to provide a more simplified reviewing process by JVCA. If we use such a simplified process, I think the process is quite quick. It normally takes 2 weeks or so. For Binance Japan, when we launched the service back to August last year, we used the simplified version of the reviewing process. That's why we successfully had 34 tokens at once. There is a huge improvement within the organization, but I think there is further improvement that we need to make. Currently, for brand new tokens in Japanese market, it still takes a few months. Also, if you have other exchanges in a queue, you need to wait before the JVCA start the reviewing process. I think we can do more risk-based approach. So for the tokens that are relatively with low risk, we can do more simplified reviewing process within exchange. But for the tokens that seemingly have larger risks, they may do more conservative reviewing process.
When you say risk, you view this from an investor protection perspective?
Yeah, investor protection, any type of token project that do diligence from the perspective of user protection. The risk here is money laundering, fraud, or scam. In Japan, gambling is officially prohibited. If there are too many cases that the project has around the gambling, online casino, money laundering, while project may not have a direct relationship with these activities, but too many cases around these kind of activities may have a yellow flag, right? Then it should be categorized as higher risk project.
These are all tokens that are generally already in circulation. What is the state of STOs or IEOs, whichever way you want to call it, like initial exchange offerings, bringing new tokens to the market?
Looking back the history, Japan was quite popular place for ICO, and a lot of people are scammed by scammers. That naturally led to tighter regulatory requirements around financing through tokenization. We currently have initial exchange offering. Those who want to get the finance through the sales of the new tokens, they needed to do IEO process with exchange. And IEO also is subject to a JBCS approval. More conservative reviewing process on IEO process, which is resulting on longer the process within the SRO.
Do you see that increasing in the future as projects come back to Japan?
The good thing is we have that kind of rigid regulatory framework on IEO process. In terms of transparency of the process, I think Japanese IEO process has some advantage which potentially attract people or take people who already left Japan and move to outside Japan coming back. But there is other challenge, unfortunately. I came from traditional finance, so my job was to increase the liquidity all the time. It's a war of liquidity. We compete with SGX Singaporean exchange, and we competed with NASDAQ and everywhere. It's a liquidity competition basically. When it comes to the crypto liquidity in Japanese market, as we talk, too many exchanges at this moment, 30 something, right? Liquidity is relatively lower compared with other major exchanges outside Japan. If you started your own project and issue your token and try to list the token to one of the Japanese exchanges, you will be facing lower liquidity. After IEO, who trade? I have observed the prices of the IEO token in Japanese market unfortunately went down. Many potential projects who have approached Binance Japan pointed this problem. I think the liquidity problem, we needed to provide some solution. So that's why we are here. We are trying to bring Japanese users to our most liquid global exchange services through our brokerage agreement between Binance Japan and Binance.
We also have the JCBA, which is the one that published the 40-page tax revision proposal. What is your perspective on the role that the JCBA has to play, and why are they the ones to come out with these tax adjustment proposals?
JCB is an industry association which has more variety of participants, not only on crypto exchanges, but also consulting firms, tech providers, law firms, accounting firms. I don't think they have set down criteria for new participants, right? So quite diversified kind of participants. JCBA, which I was part of as a director, I decided not to run for the campaign this year because I wanted to focus on our own business this year, but may come back next year. JCBA has been quite active in terms of dialogue with key stakeholders, policymakers, regulators, and they proactively publish policy papers for the lawmakers and legislators, which include one for taxation, another for leverage ratio. I think they have been doing a good job to point what are key challenges for Japanese market to succeed in Web3 market and what kind of thing that policymakers and regulators can take to improve the situation.
Before this most recent paper, there was the paper on the leverage, which I thought was very well thought out. It drew the comparison with the FX market, where Japan is also the largest retail FX trading market in the world, and made a very reasonable argument to give a bit more leeway to the traders.
These are a lot of things. Back to my days in Tokyo Stock Exchange, I was seconded to Japan's Securities Clearing Corporation, JSCC, which determined leverage ratio for traditional finance, and I calculated span, margin. So I'm familiar with how to calculate margin and how to decide appropriate level of leverage ratio. My understanding is it should be backed by science. We need to think about barrier at risk and what kind of confidence level, what kind of look back period of the samples, and decide what level of requirements as a margin for market players. The JCB's approach is making a lot of sense, right? Just using market data and using a scientific approach to propose an appropriate level of margin, which automatically determines leverage ratio. I was deeply involved in the discussion with regulators when JFSA decided to lower leverage ratio to 2x for retails. There was not that many kind of argument with science, unfortunately. The people were really concerned over the complaints maybe coming from investors or retail traders who are not familiar with crypto, and cryptocurrency itself have more volatility compared with the traditional financial products, right? So the argument around the time was why we needed to provide such an leverage transaction for investors who are not familiar with having volatility. So they decided to lower to 2x. Given the situation around cryptocurrencies having more market stability at this moment, and outside Japan, many institutional players have entered the market. Taking account of these facts, I think now is a time for the market participants to think about what is appropriate level of the margin requirement.
Another area where Japan is leading in terms of regulation is stablecoins. We had DCP-JY announcement last week. They've been production testing for a month or two. When will we see trading in stablecoins on Japanese exchanges?
First of all, Japanese regulatory regime had not supported stablecoin with their regulatory framework, unfortunately. So that's why we still don't have any official offering of stablecoin in this market. People can go outside Japan and buy Tether USDC, but in terms of the domestic business, no exchange can offer stablecoin at this moment. But last June, the government changed Fund Settlement Act. They created a new category to support stablecoin business in Japanese market. Since then, many people announced their plan to issue new stablecoin in Japanese market. I'm pretty sure by the end of this year, someone will announce the launch of the stablecoin in Japanese market. As Binance, we are eager to do stablecoin business as well in Japan. We do believe stablecoin will bring more liquidity to the market, which will be one of the solutions to improve the liquidity problem we are facing now. More than 95% of globally traded stablecoin is USD based. Even if the euro, the percentage is quite small, which shows that local currency stablecoin will have a smaller chance to be successful. But many Japanese companies and projects, they look thinking about local currency JPY, which I think their end state would be the market separated from the global market. Some company are interested in providing a stable coin just for specific market segment or just for specific market participants. It's just an experimental kind of thing. But Binance, we want to do something real. Stablecoin, we are focusing on USD so that Japanese investors can use these USD coins for the transaction with international investors and traders. Our view is always global, not like a domestic focused.
Where Japan is now behind is the question around ETFs. So we have Bitcoin ETFs in the US early in the year, and then for most people very surprisingly quickly also Ethereum ETFs coming up. Both Korean and Japanese soundbite are a bit cautious in that regard.
I'm a big fan of ETF, and I really want to have ETF available in this market, which should bring more investors to crypto or Web3 industries. One of the challenge is volatility of cryptocurrencies, and the reason why, because the participants in the market is still more speculators type of participants are dominant in the market. So that's why when the one market event happens, the price would be more volatile. But if we have a long-term investors like a stock exchange that can cancel out the volatility. So I really want to have a wider investor group in this market, and ETF should bring wider investor group to cryptocurrency. We have been discussing ETF opportunity industry groups, including JCBA, JBCA, but not all of them for the idea of having an ETF in this market. The reason is different taxation. Spot transaction, if you make a profit, the profit is subject to your income tax up to 55%, including a municipal tax, which is 10% fixed. While traditional securities, the profit is subject to separated tax system, which is 20% fixed. If ETF obviously will be in category of separated tax system 20%, and then some exchange people are worrying about the situation. If ETF is released in this market and people start trading ETF, and more, the spot market will die out. That kind of horror story, some people are seriously talking within the associations. I understand that concern partially. However, that can trigger discussion with tax offices and relevant politicians who are keen to have fair tax system in Japanese market, given that underlying asset is same. Why we have two different tax rates, right? If ETF has been accepted by many traditional investors, tax offices may think about, okay, this one has been accepted as one of the reliable financial assets. So why we have the separated tax system for the crypto spot transactions and make it more popular in this market or something like that. Obviously, if we have that kind of ETF business, there will be more serious tax consideration taking place in authorities. That's one of the reasons. And another one is ETF will bring liquidity to spot trades as well. Because ETF is just a vehicle. You need cash Bitcoin if you want to provide an ETF. But many people don't understand that kind of thing. They just are worrying about the situation. ETF and the spot market are completely different. It's an organic mechanism. You need to have both. Also, the market makers functioning to provide liquidity because they do a redemption. If they buy a lot of an ETF in the security market, they do a redemption to get a cash Bitcoin and sell cash Bitcoin in the crypto market to make a profit. That kind of arbitrage activities make both market more liquid. This mechanism I'm quite familiar with because I work for a stock exchange, but many people working in crypto exchange are not familiar with that mechanism. So I'm trying to give more explanation about what will be happening when we release an ETF in this market. To long story short, we need more education in the market before we have an ETF available in this market. But I think in the future, there's something inevitable to have a better Web3 market in this country.
We talk about Japanese markets overall, huge success with the new NISA program that started at the beginning of the year. So if you can get an ETF that's eligible for NISA as well, and people can put it in their retirement account, that's lots of coin parked that are stable holders of the asset.
We needed to provide more options for the investors. The beauty of Bitcoin is the product is not associated with any credit risk. No issuer, no middleman. As long as people keep believing the value of Bitcoin, the value will be maintained. So that's the beauty of this product. JPY is associated with the credit of Japanese country and the USD as well. And securities and other products are associated with issuer. Bitcoin, I think like gold. I think people may think about having one Bitcoin in their portfolio.
Turn it back to Binance. We covered the first year from the acquisition to the anniversary, 53 tokens listed. What's the next year going to be like?
More differentiation we want to bring to this market. Luckily, we have a global presence and we have best-in-class engineering people. We have ex-regulators, law enforcers, so our compliance program is more advanced compared with other players. My role is to pick up what product and services will bring more differentiation in this market. Some people say in Japan regulation is very strict and you can't bring that kind of a product to market. But I want to challenge it. There are multiple interpretations as to how regulators implement requirements. There is room for discussion, right? And we have a really good talent in Japan and in terms of delivering things and analyzing a program. And we also have good legal counsels and other advisors. Just take advantage of these people's insight and experience. I think we can challenge even if other players have already given up. In terms of the product lineup, we obviously focusing on stablecoin. As I said, USD will be the bridge between Japanese crypto market and the global market. So if people can access USD stablecoin, they can access global market more easily. So I really want to do that. Another thing is something other exchanges are not able to support. For example, Binance has a great system called Launch Pool, which airdrop new listed tokens to Binance users. So if you are Binance users and you have some tokens, you can lock for getting airdrop. Of course, this is one of the services that need more legal consideration. But I believe this service, if we can provide in this market, more people will be attracted by Binance Japan services because they can lock their token to get another reward. The third one is we provide payment service through Binance Pay. It's an easy payment method among users. We are going to release first phase of Binance Pay for Japanese users, but then they can more easily send crypto. Or if we added stablecoin, they can also send a stablecoin easily to other users in Japan. And just for the settlement, can you give me some BNB or Bitcoin, whatever? Yeah, we do that kind of thing frequently among Binance, but hopefully Japanese users do that kind of thing. Second phase will be a merchant payment system. So if the merchant, if they have like a Binance QR code, users can pay through their cryptocurrencies. Some companies have already supported crypto payment, right? I want to pursue an opportunity with these shops and merchants for the payment service.
So Binance Pay is a wallet product, not a Visa, MasterCard branded credit card.
Credit card we're also thinking about, but the pay is different from a credit card.
Okay.
It's just on Binance. You can show your QR code. then pay it, that kind of service.
On the stablecoin side, I personally, as a retail person, am comfortable with this, but when I pay with Bitcoin, because then it becomes a taxable transaction, all the accounting on the back of that is pretty difficult.
Don't think crypto payment for day-to-day businesses or services will prevail in this market, given that Japan has such a sophisticated payment system already, and people are not frustrated with existing payment services. The government recently released salary payment in digital currency. Japan is more or less advanced in digital payment. Crypto payment, I don't think it will prevail. However, some want to use cryptocurrency if they are crypto billionaire. They may prefer to pay in Bitcoin or BNB. When stablecoin comes in, theoretically, it's a 1-to-1 to fiat currency, right? No P&L. So I think some people, some market segment, and we are happy to provide, even for a small portion of user group, but we are happy to provide such services.
That was a wonderful conversation, Chino-san. Thank you very much. And
thank you, Noah-san.
We're looking forward to the second year of Binance in Japan.
Thank you very much.